Hello founders, and welcome back to my Ensemble Startup series. I'm Robert, and I'm super thrilled that you are here because it means that you're the kind of person who wants to do something new, big, and bold. And this is exactly what the classical music field needs today. So today we will be talking about audience in greater depth. And what I want to do is arm you with more questions to kind of better understand who is going to come to your events and who is going to like your ensemble itself. And normally, of course, this kind of comes at the end of the process. So we decide to do a concert. We figure out the music, we find the musicians and the venue, and then eventually we kind of get around to telling people about it. And what I would submit to you actually is that we should do that in reverse and start with getting a hold of the audience and then move towards the music side of things. And part of the reason for this is because as musicians, that's what we're most comfortable with. And so that's what we do, and we shy away from all these other things like marketing because we just don't know what to do. And so then we kind of do it at the last minute, and it can make for some disappointing turnouts for concerts. And so we want to get out of that cycle and start approaching the audience very early on in the process and getting them to collaborate with us as much as possible. So with your audience, you want to understand who exactly they are. The more detail you can have, the better. So what is their demographic information? How much money do they make? Is it going to be more men or women? People from a specific area? All of these are really important questions to ask. And at the same time, you also want to find out what barriers are there for people to come to your concert. So let's say that you are your first venue ends up being out in the middle of nowhere. So the distance is going to be one of those barriers. And so it's important to not just understand who, but also like why would they come and what do they have to overcome to be able to attend your concert. So where can you get this demographic information? And basically there are two ways. First, you can look it up online. There's a lot of information on there and lots of different sources. You can go to the major ensembles in the area. You can look at, say if you're a brass quintet, look at what other brass quintets have done in your area, or even nationally, and see if that, and think about whether that information applies to your specific area. At the same time, you can also actually go to concerts, and instead of just listening to it, go and pay attention to who exactly is there. And talk to some people around you and see why they're there or what they're actually interested are. And so between these two ways, you can get a better idea. Even if all of the demographic information isn't there, you can make some good guesses about who is actually going to attend your concert. And one thing you want to do is to pay attention to the attendance rates in your area. So let's say you're starting a brass quintet. If you go to a brass quintet concert in your area and it's poorly attended, you want to ask yourself, why is that the case? Was it marketing? Is it that nobody's interested in it? And more importantly then, what exactly can you do to overcome those barriers? And what can you do to have a successful concert? And so with your concerts, one thing that's important to ask is, are you going to know the people at this concert? Ideally, you want a lot of people that you don't know. But if you're doing it for mostly an extended group of friends or something like that, then that's totally fine. But you need to be upfront with yourself who exactly you're expecting to come to the concert. One really great question for you to ask yourself is, are you creating an audience or are you tapping into an audience that already exists? So up in Los Angeles, for instance, let's say you're starting a new orchestra up there. There are lots of orchestras there and there are lots of people who already attend concerts up there. Are you interested in bringing those people to your concerts, or are you trying to find a completely new audience? And of course this has an important effect on how you're going to try to reach them. So if you are talking to people who already go to concerts, then they already know all of the vocabulary and they're looking for maybe something that's either better or different than what they already have. Whereas with the with an audience that doesn't know anything about orchestras, then you will have to change the way that you talk about it so that they can understand it, so that a lot of the vocabulary is gone, or so that it's simplified, so that everybody can understand it, so that a lay audience can understand it. Another important thing to do is to attend the concert just to see how well attended it is. Are there people there? Are they excited to be there? And if not, you have to figure out what you're going to do differently to engage that audience and to ultimately energize them. So if you go to a brass quintet concert and it only has 20 people show up to it, then it could be a marketing thing. It could be that they weren't very serious about it. It could also be that people generally don't like brass quintets in your area. So if that's the case, you have to figure out something that overcomes that barrier, and it means that your work is going to be all the more difficult, and simply ignoring it is not going to fix it. So I would encourage you to look at what problems similar ensembles are having in your area, and to figure out what you can do to overcome those problems. Finally, it may turn out that what you initially think is your target audience is completely wrong. You may think, for instance, let's say that you want to start up a video game orchestra, that all of the people who will attend your concerts are college students. But then it turns out that they don't really have any money, or that their transportation is an issue. And so the people who end up actually attending your concert in droves are young professionals, and even older professionals with emotional ties to the older games. So this is all something to keep in mind, that what your initial guesses and assumptions are very well may be wrong. But as long as you know that you're making a guess and that you can adjust as you see that things are either not true or not correct, then that's the best thing that you can do, and it will help you move forward in doing more and more successful concerts. With that, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned something about audiences. I'm going to leave some resources in the description below. I'll create an action sheet with these questions and more to kind of keep you thinking about who your audience is. And I hope you'll leave a comment below. Let me know what you're working on, who you think your audience is, lessons you've learned about audiences. I would love to hear from you. So I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.